Hello, Naomi. Nice to
Hi, Chrissy.
We were just saying that last time we saw each other was at the opening of the LSA. I'm sure you've been there since. And we've got a couple of the girls from there today, and guys, hopefully.
That's great.
Hello to them. So, Naomi, let's go straight into the questions, because I know there'll be loads of questions coming in for you. Let me see. My first question is 1917.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic looking film. Sam Mendes and Roger Deakins filmed the movie to look like one continuous shot. How did this affect your design, and how did it work with the continuity? Like, was it filmed chronologically? Did you have problems with skylight, daylight?
It was filmed chronologically, except for the weather cover, which was, of course, the scene with the two actors where they're in a German bunker and there's a massive explosion and they get buried in a load of chalk dust. So, of course, that is the big scene that would affect their appearance more than anything else, Chrissy. As you know, they always do this. That's the one scene we shot out of sequence. So, the first question, as far as it affecting the design of the film, I was not compromised in the design of the film by the fact that we were doing it as one shot. We had to adjust certain things because of that, but the design of the film was always, the whole onus on that was authenticity, and it was really important to me that these soldiers looked exactly right. And as you know, you can't just hurl dirt on so it looks like some dodgy old makeup artist has hurled on a load of dirt.
Yeah,
we had to layer it. We had to use various products to replicate what they've been through, and apart from making them look like victims of what they've been through, the lifestyle they had. And we did things like we shot in 3 different areas. So we matched the dirt and earth of each of the trenches to the area that we were in. So we were shooting at Bovingdon Airfield, which is a yellowy, goldeny type of clay dirt. So we made that. We made gallons of it. David Stoneman made tons and tons of dirt, that colour. And then we matched Salisbury Plain, and then we matched the chalk pits. And so we had different dirt for different locations. So it was all layered in that colourway. And that's how we did it. We had hundreds of makeup artists just throwing it all on. And it was really the greatest experience of my life, I think. And the way we dealt with the continuity of the big explosion with George getting buried was that we did it for real in the studio. We buried him. We did a rehearsal in costume to time exactly as it would be, so that we knew the effects of it, and then we were able to match it. And so the amount of thought that went into the prep of that film, I prepped for 16 weeks, which is longer than the shoot, and made it all work incredibly smoothly, and meant that we didn't have to compromise our designs in any way.
Yeah. Can I ask you, was you being paid to prep for 16 weeks?
Yeah.
Or you always put in a bit more prep than what you're being...
No, I put in much more than 60. I started prepping the minute Sam asked me to do the film. As we do, particularly when you're passionate.
Oh my God, do you know, it's so true. I mean, it's one of the things why I kind of love having these sort of like interviews with other designers. It's kind of really good for people to know that we kind of don't just take it for granted what we do. Every job that we do, we're thankful to get. But also every job brings its own sort of like implications, really. And there's been so many times where, I mean, I've actually got people, I mean, we make up dirt all the time. And I think it's really important for people to know when they're coming into this industry that so much of our work is about dirtying people down. It's one of the main reasons why I opened the school initially, is because people weren't being shown how to make people look properly dirty.
But it's thinking what we did during the research, huge amounts of research on the actual day-by-day lifestyle of a soldier in the trenches. Yeah. How often do they get to wash? What did they have in their backpacks? They had a little towel. I mean, if you look at a film, you see there's a lot of dirt around the edges of their face because they had one towel and they would wipe themselves down with it. And I always thought, well, they'd wipe their faces, but the dirt was sort of shift to the outside. That type of thought.
It's
think about all this stuff
that kind of make it all work so well. It
yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It's also important. It's also important to, you know, at the academy we talk about dirtying down and learning to dirty down. And sometimes, you know, certain students and things kind of roll their eyes, and it's like it's a bit of dirt. It's dirtying down. But I mean, the way you're talking, Naomi, about actually creating the soil specifically for the events and where and what, and the importance of it, because that will make a film look either real or not. You know?
But I mean, it's so true. It's even with the crowd. I mean, you know, Charmaine, obviously she's worked with me enough now to know that I'm obsessed with skin coming through the dirt as well. And it's that whole thing of you know, they're cold, you know, it's the whole thing, like you're saying, Naomi, it's like what they're living through. You have to tell that story. Have they slept? You know, they haven't got access to kind of, you know, normal bathrooms or anything, you know, so you kind of do all of that. You know, the red nose and tired eyes and red ears, you know, I'm obsessed with them.
On top of it, the red ears. I've got a thing about that. Have you?
Me too.
A red ear?
Charmaine just laughs at me all the time. All my lot are just like, make the ears red.
I know, so me too. So funny. But it's also things like they're smoking like chimneys, so their hands are stained and their teeth are rotten. And what we did, because we had 500 or 600 extras, I couldn't afford to make teeth for everyone. And so I went with Chris Lyons. During the rehearsals, or the camera rehearsals, weeks before, they went into costume, and so we put them into makeup weeks before for every rehearsal, because I didn't want Sam to look down the line and for it not to all be working. So one day I took Chris Lyons down the trench and we ran the line of extras with the camera so that we could see exactly who was on camera and exactly who was smiling, or his teeth you could see, so that we could make those teeth, so we knew what to do. And Chris Lyons was a mess at the end of that.
Oh,
he was so moved by the whole experience.
Well, I mean, you have to be, and it's amazing how, like, white teeth. I mean, obviously, everybody has such good oral hygiene nowadays. It's one of the main problems when we're doing films. I know we had a real problem on Peterloo because we had absolutely no money. But we could literally, we was just doing it with just skin illustrators in the end. Literally, sort of like I had sort of somebody literally on tooth watch all the time, you know, so we could just get everybody that was in front of camera and things. But it does make such a difference. How long did the film actually take to shoot?
15 weeks. That's
a long time. No.
But I think we wrapped nearly a week early because the shots were so long. So I can't remember how many shots there were. I keep thinking 32, but maybe a little bit more than that. But once we got a 10-minute shot, we could get that in one day. So if we got it in the day, you'd have maybe 3 days scheduled for that shot. But if we got ahead of ourselves, and it's completely weather dependent. We couldn't have sunshine. It had to be grey. So we were just very lucky.
So if it was like a 10-15 minute shot, I suppose, I mean, what you guys are doing is you're getting everybody ready and then just sort of like walking away like we do on a Ken Loach film or something.
I tend to walk away in a situation like that because they're ready. No one's got wigs. I'm not worried about lace. I'm not worried about anything except for them looking right. And often they get better during the day, as you know. The longer it's on, the more ground in it's getting. So you can walk away, and obviously we had monitors everywhere and could check the shot. And Sam has a very keen eye. He would see stuff before me, and I'd get this, nay! And then we'd all like,
yes!
So, but I'd also trusted him. That's why it's such a good collaboration, because I trust his eye, and he trusts mine, so it's great. So you could walk away and let them run it. And, you know, poor George was running a mile a shot and you're doing 40 takes. Anyway, he's young.
I suppose they know what they're going to sign up for.
We all,
like you said.
Yeah, and all of us every day go, oh, we wish we were there now. You know, it's such a great experience. You wouldn't think it.
It's so funny when you do a shot like a film like that, isn't it? I've got those sort of memories on The Constant Garden. I had such affection.
Another incredibly special film.
Yeah, but I think it's because you have to kind of sort of just really give it your all. You know, you have to sort of like invest in what you're doing. I mean, it's what makes us love our job. I know.
Yeah.
What locations did you go to? Sorry, you just said that.
We're in Bovingdon Airfield, Salisbury. We went to Glasgow as well. Oh. We did the lock scene in Glasgow at the dock, sort of lock. There's a big lock there that was disused.
Not round midgie season.
Huh?
Not round midgie season.
No, thank God. No, it wasn't. And then we were near Newcastle for all the river sequence.
Cool. Excellent. Right. Okay. In between a designing film, sorry, I've written all of these down because in case I go off piste a little bit, which I tend to do.
You can, yeah.
Exactly. In between your designing, I mean, you do an awful lot of personal makeup. You know, Emma Thompson, Kristen Scott Thomas. My boys are very impressed that you do Ben Stiller as well. When you're designing as a personal, how involved are you involved in the whole design of them? Is it totally down to you?
Well, it's a collaboration.
Collaborate.
It has to be a collaboration with the designer. I don't do it so much anymore, actually, personally.
No,
Only because, not because I don't want to, it just hasn't worked out like that. But recently I did Emma Thompson on Cruella and worked with Nadia Stacey. And so I did what I would expect a personal to do with me, which is what Morag did and Kay when we did Cinderella, and they came to do Kate, and they rang me up and go, "What do you want, Nay?" And I said, a bit of 40s feel about this, and then off they went and did it. So I sat down with Nadia to get a concept, because you have to fit in with the design concept of the film, and you have to collaborate with the designer. And Nadia's a great designer. I was a bit nervous.
No, she's great. I think she's one of our really good sort of up and coming designers. But I'm very.
She's a very brave designer.
I know. It's exciting.
Great. Yeah,
I'm glad you're saying good things, because she's listening.
Oh, is she?
I know that.
She was with us the other day. But that said, do you know what I've heard? I've actually heard really good things about Cruella and about Emma's makeup and that. One of the reasons that I'm asking you that, obviously, because like we do the same. I don't tend to do personal as such, but it's kind of interesting when you're working with personals, and I'm sort of like putting that question out there really for the guys that are sort of like listening, because it's a question that I get asked a lot about how personals fit in with what we do as designers. And it's exactly as you said. I mean, sort of a good personal would always collaborate because the overall design is so important. I mean, we had that with Will Smith on Aladdin, a lot of sort of tries and errors of sort of getting his little genie look right, and it was definitely a collaboration between sort of like all of us, so Pierce and Judi, who are with him all the time, they was very sort of into kind of doing all different looks and things, and then I could translate what Guy kind of meant when he nodded and did looks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really good. And when you are designing a film, do you oversee the hair side of it as well?
I usually do. I usually do both.
Yeah.
I like to do both. Yeah. Because that's how I was trained. And although I lived in the States for a long time, I wasn't allowed to do hair and makeup together. So I did just makeup. I had to make a choice. I chose makeup, and it's difficult because unless you get a hairdresser who's on your wavelength and you work really well together and you trust them, it's frustrating. But on Batman now, Zoe Tahir is doing the hair, and she's very, very good, and we're very good friends, and we have a good working relationship. There's no ego. It's just about creating a look, and that's very good, and that's satisfying. So that it works occasionally. It can work, but I prefer to do both.
Yeah, I mean, I've always done both, but I think it's like anything. Again, we kind of cover this topic every time that we have these chats, but it really is, as a designer, it's kind of knowing what your team are capable of doing. So if you have got really elaborate hairstyles, then what you're going to do is you're going to bring in somebody who is capable of actually pulling that off. Yeah. And we all know in the industry, I mean, this is another thing that we sort of say every week, that our industry is so small. It's a fantastic industry, but we all know each other, and as designers, we all have huge mutual respect for each other. Do you know what I mean? In what everyone can sort of pull off and sort of bring to the table and things.
It's always good to have those type of relationships with designers whose work you really respect, because it's just very supportive.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need some help or a bit of backup or some advice about something, and it's so great to be able. I mean, I would ring you if I needed some advice, or I'd ring.
Yeah,
any of those great guys, and it's fabulous. And I'd hope that people could ring me if they wanted some advice, which they do. People do. It's a big collaboration. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it really is. And it's also that other thing that we'll say till we're blue in the face, but nowadays we share actors so often. So we all have to, sort of like be able to talk to one another and work out how we can make the actors work for both projects.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really, really important. That's me. That's my questions.
No, you've got to have more than that, Chrissy.
No, I haven't, because I know that we've got loads of questions coming in, haven't we, Pete?
Yes. Let's start straight away.
I always get told I ask too many questions. That's why I kind of kept it sweet this week.
From Angel's asking a couple of little questions. Do you prefer hair or makeup, and why?
I suppose I've done more makeup because I lived in the States for 20 years and I didn't have a choice. But no, I like to do both. I really love to create the whole look with hair and makeup because that's how I always was trained, and it's very hard to pull back from that.
Yeah. It'd be a challenge, I suppose, just doing one, only just makeup or only just hair, really, to get the complete look. Quite a few people are asking sort of the same question. So, generically, how did you get started in the industry, Naomi? And did you always know it was going to be film, or where did you start?
Well, I started by I was heading off to do a foundation course at art school, and I wanted to do something in the arts. I didn't know what. I didn't have a clue what. And then one day, I've probably told this story a million times. I hope I'm not boring you guys. But one day I was on the tube and I got hit by this idea that it was so long ago, someone must be doing the makeup on Doctor Who with those monsters. Is that a job? Because then makeup artists, no one knew what a makeup artist was then. It wasn't in my field of vision at all. I mean, I'd seen credits, so I thought, I think I want to be a makeup artist. So I told my mum, who was so relieved, and she rang the BBC, and then I had to go back to college to get a degree. Oh, it wasn't a degree then, it was City and Guilds, now it's a degree, but I had to go back to college. So I blagged my way into the London College of Fashion, still a great course, did the 3-year hair and beauty course, and got into the BBC. And and that's all I wanted to do, was get into the BBC and become a makeup designer in the BBC. And I got in, and I did Doctor Who, but they wouldn't promote me to designer or whatever it was called then, because my personality wasn't quite BBC enough. Jan Shaw was there. Lots of people who might be listening today were there, and still we have all those friendships from using Norma Webb, all these people. Anyway, so I left the BBC, never thinking about feature films. It was only about television. I never thought about theatre. And I left the Beeb, and I had done a small charity theatre show in the West End. Never done theatre before. And from that, someone saw my work, and I got offered a lot of stuff like, what was the first thing I did? Starlight Express, Song and Dance. I started getting offered all these musicals in the West End, and I did those. But I also got offered a world tour with Tracy Ullman, and that's why I left the BBC. We went around the world. I made her up when she had a singing career then. So we did that. Then I did a film with her, a small film for Channel 4. And then I got offered my first feature, which was The Doctor and the Devils. I still hadn't supervised at the Beeb or anything. I was sort of winging it. And then I got offered a Bond. Wow. I got offered, Tim Dalton rang and said, would I do his makeup for the Bond? Because he was in the first feature film I did. And once you do a Bond, and I entered that world, which is still a huge part of my life, my career just took off. Because although on a Bond, it's not, in those days, it was mostly beauty and a few wounds and this and that, but not the most artistically demanding then. It is now, but it just puts you in a different place if you do a film like that. So that's when my career took off. That's how it happened. It was sort of luck. Yeah.
You still have, the theatre that you've done is quite impressive as well. I mean, are you still active in theatre? Would you still do?
Yeah.
And you still love doing it?
I love doing theatre. And you do a film because it pays for you to do theatre, really. But I'm sort of involved in a production called Sing Street, which was supposed to open on Broadway last month that Barbara Broccoli is producing. And I was doing distant designing with another makeup artist in New York because I was doing Batman here. So, and intending to go out to sort it all out, but of course that's Broadway shut down now, and who knows when it will open. Hopefully not too long. But yes, I do theatre whenever I can. I go in and help actors in the theatre, and I just love it. I love being part of it. I did The Inheritance last year, the year before last. And no, yeah, it's great. I like to mix it up.
No, I think it's important keeping it fresh.
No, can I butt in and ask just about the distant designing, only because it just takes us to what we was talking about before we started. Yeah. I'm sure everybody would like to hear this as well, that you've actually been working doing some distant.
I have, yeah. I have. I've been shooting for the BBC a series of Alan Bennett's Talking Heads, which was first made in the 80s. And the BBC rang Nick Heitner and said, do you reckon you could produce this? And he went, yep. And the first call he made was me, because he felt that if the actors felt that they would look okay and that somehow would feel confident to go on, that would all be okay. So I said, yep, we'll make it work. I'll think of something. And so we did it. And I taught all the actors on Zoom how to do their own makeup. And we had meetings. I ordered everything that they needed, got it sent to their houses, hair and rollers and makeup and everything. And then we'd sit on Zoom and we'd go through how they had to do it. They would do their hair and they'd do their makeup, and I'd give them tips, and they were fantastic. Most of them do a lot of theatre, so they're used to doing their own makeup. The hair was the problem, actually. They weren't so comfortable with the hair, but they got it together. Because they're real characters, in a way, it gave it a different type of feel, because we got away with stuff that maybe I wouldn't quite have done, even though I love to do realistic makeup and hair. And I think it really worked well.
And did you go to the studio at all?
Then I went to the studio, and I had Renee and Caroline, who are the supervisors on Eastenders, because we used all the Eastenders sets for our sets. Uh-huh. And we used the studios, and I used their makeup rooms, and they helped me. Couldn't have done it actually without them, because we shot two of the plays a day. So we had two separate directors, studios shooting two separate actors. So they watched one actor each. They helped me get them ready in the morning. I got them ready by standing 6 feet away and giving them instruction. We've been through it already, so I just reminded them what to do. Then they'd get to the set, and Renee and Caroline would watch them for me while I ran between the two sets.
And did you have to wear any protection or anything? Was you asked to wear any masks?
Well, we had masks and gloves, hand sanitizer and everything. We didn't wear masks all the time. The BBC didn't want us to wear masks.
Okay.
They felt that they didn't do enough, and they would give a false sense of security.
That's interesting.
But some of the actors asked us to wear masks, and and actually I quite liked wearing my mask in the end, because my mask is very attractive.
There's going to be a whole new design in masks, isn't there?
Yeah, I know.
I guarantee that all of our lovely costume people are going to be making some really
I
cool.
know.
We got a couple
really happening to hear.
It's very good to know. We shot 8 hours of television that's going out next month in 6 days, and it's incredibly high quality television. We had Jodi Comer, Harriet Walter, Leslie Manville, all these people, incredible actors came and did it. They were very happy to be working, I think.
Cool.
That's the underlying thing. What was
feedback to you.
What was the largest crowd scene you've ever done? Was it Spector's Bond, or was it 1917?
It was neither of those, actually. It was, although they were both massive. The largest crowd scene I've done was 5,000 on a film called Shining Through that we shot, 35 years ago. I think it was my 4th film. And I had Norma and Tricia Cameron was there, and we had 5,000 extras in Nazi Germany. Don't know how we pulled that one off, but we did.
Wow.
And in those days, you didn't have massive crowd supervisors and huge rooms doing fittings.
But I've got to say, Naomi, your Day of the Dead thing on Spectre, that opening sequence, that was pretty flipping incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
another long running shot, wasn't it?
That was Sam. That was the inspiration for 1917. Sam Mendes wanted to do the opening sequence as one shot, and it wasn't one shot, but it looked like one shot. And a lot of it was a very long shot, actually. That shot where you open with Bond walking through the crowds, up through into the hotel and up into the room. And that took 2 weeks to shoot. And that was 1,500 extras. And Nikita Ray ran that.
Yeah.
I just did makeup. Again, Zoe Tahir was doing the hair on that. Yeah. And we had 1,500 extras. They did 6 weeks of fitting. We each had 150 makeup, 150 hair, doing fittings. And I was at Pinewood. I'd sent a massive amount of research with Nikita. And she took 5 makeup artists from the UK. Yeah. And the rest, I wanted to use Mexican makeup artists. I just felt it would be more authentic. Yeah. And I didn't want to use just makeup artists. I wanted to use artists, body painters, and loads of different people. We had airbrush people that had never done a body before. And anyway, they organised it so well. We were in a stadium. We had 300 makeup stations, all of us. And then there was all the costume people. We were all in the same place. And every day we were at Pinewood, and every day Nikita would send me the fitting photos. So I'd be at 5 o'clock at Pinewood. They'd be pouring through my phone on WhatsApp, thousands and thousands of them. And I looked at every single makeup, gave a few notes, but didn't really need to. And then it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. Then we get to Mexico, the main team, and I go into this stadium, and I was just so overwhelmed by how incredible it was and how amazing the Mexican makeup artists were. And the feeling there was, and my daughter came and she was in it and she helped, and it was an incredible experience. And so I went and worked the crowd. I worked the crowd with them, Chrissy, and my makeups were dreadful.
I always do that. I get shamed by all the crowd.
So I'm so shamed, like Jules.
I mean, the good crowd designers, seriously, they absolutely know how.
They've been doing it, and I came in cold.
God, never underestimate what they can pull off. Yeah.
No. So that's how we got them out in an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
1,500, and they looked amazing. I'm so pleased. Yeah.
Well, it looked amazing.
It's an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Not much to do with me, and all to do with them, really. So, but I'm happy to take the credit.
A question from Harry. Do you think more actors will start doing their own hair and makeup after what's happened?
Well, I think initially we need to do whatever we can to get people shooting and working. And I don't know. I don't think it's always possible for actors to do their own makeup. They can't do a big prosthetic makeup. If they're good at it, I think it might happen in various situations that yes, they will. And I think it might be situations like I just did. Don't kill me, everyone out there.
No, not at all.
How to do makeup, but and I think it will work for some things. I know Eastenders are trying to get up and running and wondering how to do it. And I think personally, initially, yes, I think they might be. But I don't think they will on major feature films where you've got Batman and you've got special makeups. And
But Naomi, it's a really hard, and I think we're all tiptoeing around it at the moment. But I kind of think we have to, we know that it will eventually get back to some sense of normal. But for the time being, until there is a vaccine or until we know everybody's safe, I think we can't. We just have to get it done. We have to keep the industry alive, no matter how we do it. And I kind of think that safety first is paramount. And as long as we can survive these next sort of 6 months or however long it is till we know that it's safe to kind of start doing big crowds and things, I mean, it will get back to normal, but it will take time. And
it will get back to a different normal. Yes. I think it will be a different normal. Yeah. And I think things we learn from this might be carried on. Yeah. But I agree. I think if they have to do their own hair and makeup, then they should. We got round things like people who had 6-inch roots. No one's been to the hairdresser for years. We got round it. I also did wigs, and I did 2 wigs in that. Dressed them, hurled them across the room at the actor, and they put them on. But they were actors that knew how to put on
space. Did you make sure they all had fringes?
Yeah, of course.
Number one, make sure that all the laces come.
Exactly.
But there'll also be, as we mentioned, there'll also be good positives coming for you, like a change in how we've been working, how you worked before. So positive changes where just because we've been doing something for the last 15 years like this doesn't mean it can't diversify and change. So I think,
I think I'm all for change. I think there will be changes. I think there are changes that might be necessary in some ways as well. And I think people's attitudes will change. I just think it will all change. And I just think we need to get going and start shooting and do what we need to make that happen.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We will definitely work it out. Yeah. But there's also that thing that it's about health and safety. It's about protecting everybody. It's not about a financial thing anymore.
No, it's not.
We're not talking about our producers not wanting to hand out the money. Every producer I've spoken to is happy to throw as much money at it as it takes. And I think it's just literally about making sure that everyone's safe. So I think I totally respect that it will take time.
Yeah.
We've got a few questions, Naomi, with regards. Could you tell us a little about working with Wes Anderson and the Royal Tenenbaums?
Well, Wes Anderson, I love him, and I was a bit nervous to go. So I went round to his flat for my little interview. Well, I think I got offered the job, actually. I went round to talk to him about how he wanted the cast to look. And the thing about Wes is that he designs every aspect of the film. So he designs everything, the costumes, the sets, the props, the makeup, the hair. So he had little cartoony line drawings of every single actor. He everything. He had Gene Hackman's hairstyle, little long bits at the back. He had Ben with his curly hair, with his kids with matching hair. He had everything. So I reproduced his drawings. And the thing that got the most fuss makeup-wise on that film was Gwyneth's makeup, which were these black eyes. And I can't remember I think that probably came from him. Might have come from me, but we had black eyes on her when she was a little girl, when she was growing up, and when she was a grown-up. And that was a big smoky eye makeup, which took 3 seconds, because I got some black coal, Indian black coal, which comes in a grease stick from Queens, where all the Indian shops are. And I gave it to her, and we just slammed it on. I made her rub her eyes, and that's all she wore. She had no foundation, no nothing. She had flawless skin, and that was her makeup. And I think it's one of the makeups I've had the most questions about, was that makeup on Gwyneth. Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was, working with Wes was great, and working with those actors, Gene Hackman. I was just fishing them out because I posted something on Instagram the other day, of a picture of me and Gene Hackman and all the makeup artists and hairdressers, and it was such a lovely experience. It was such good fun, that film.
He's an absolute legend, so it would be amazing.
Wes, yeah.
Yeah, to work with him, and Gene as well. Moving over to now, this is a question from Rachel. Was it a challenge to research on Cinderella, as it's a classic Disney film, and did you feel any constraint in that? No,
it wasn't a challenge, because we all had this idea at the same time. I mean, obviously you research and you look at the old Disney movies and the old cartoons, and the cartoon, I mean, don't call it cartoon now. You call it an animated film, and whatever. They all had that 40s feel, particularly the villains, particularly the Wicked Stepmothers and they all had that sort of Betty Davis sort of red lit styling, and that's what influenced me. And I went into Carol Hemming, who's my mate, who was designing the hair. And we all had the same idea, which was to make the film look like it was shot in the 40s, when you had that sort of Victorian-y feel, but completely influenced by that time period. So you have like Wuthering Heights or Gone with the Wind, where they all had 1940s makeups on, and they had all their ringlets, but with little 40s rolls. And I loved that. So I said, why don't we do this? Like we were shooting it in the 40s. We all said that. We all came up with that idea, and completely influenced by the cartoon, which actually wasn't made in the 40s, but had that feel.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. So all the hairstyles had that influence, and all the makeups looked like 1940s makeups. And then the colour, we went mad with the colours. You'd never do that if it's really an authentic period film. And we pushed it. We had fluorescent pinks and oranges and eyeliner and lashes and all of this stuff going on. And we were all on the same page. Sandy Powell just we all ran with that. And we took it to Ken, and he said, that's fine, do it. And that's what we did. So it wasn't so much as research, it was an idea that came through research that had nothing to do with anything, really. But it gave that film a huge sense of style, and the only person that wasn't wearing that makeup was Cinderella. So she stood out for the opposite reason to usual, because I didn't ever put a makeup like that on her. I put a very natural makeup on her, a beautiful, glowy sort of natural makeup. And even when she went to the ball, I just punched it up slightly and did a bit of glitter here and there. And she still stood out because she shone out this clean face amongst these huge makeups.
I mean, do you have sometimes where you come up with, or a few of you come up with this great idea, and the director's like, no, don't like that, I want it. And you go...
I often come up with ideas and the director's gone, are you mad? You've lost your mind? But most directors go, well, let's just try it. You know, the really good directors will let you run with it, and they'll go, well, let's just try it. And they make it a very safe space for you to try something and feel that you're not being judged when you've screwed the whole thing and it's not the right thing. And that happens a lot in the theatre. I work with Bob Crowley, the theatre designer, and who is quite simple and brilliant in his designs. And I go mad and I do makeup tests, and he just puts his head in his hands. Goes, good try, Nay. But yeah, but you need to try all that stuff. You need to go mad to put it back to where it needs to be. And I've forgotten what your question was now, actually.
No, but it was about, you know, talking to the director and, you know, him challenging you or saying that he didn't want it. But I mean, do you have to be thick-skinned to accept it, or is it just part of the job to go, okay, I'll...
Yeah, it's hard at first. You feel, when you're starting up and you're scared all the time. I'm still scared. I'm still shitting myself before I start a new job. Always, even Talking Heads, you know, the BBC. I was so nervous. And
it's a sleepless night the night before, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like,
you never sleep. Oh,
yeah, I just can't
and
sleep.
the night before makeup tests, where the night before I went to do the Crucible with Nick Heitner and Dan Day and all that lot, I got drunk. I got so drunk. I passed out on a bar. I was so drunk because I was so scared. And that never goes away. I mean, that was pretty bad, but
it has to
your
be,
question again.
it's a cliche of, like, you know, you've got to be nervous, otherwise you're not worried or you don't care about it.
It is a cliche.
But
occasionally I haven't been nervous and it still worked out okay. But for big projects, I get really nervous. But what happens is, as you get older, you get nervous for different reasons. So you get a sort of confidence when you've done 90 odd films, or you've been doing it for 40 years. You have a sort of confidence that something must be okay. You must be doing something because it's still working. So you have that confidence, so that when they go, no, you can accept it and move on, and not feel that it's a personal. You can't take it personally. It's not because your skill isn't good, or it's just they don't like that idea. They had a different idea in mind, and that does happen.
And you wouldn't.
You don't get upset.
No, you don't get upset. But also, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I think so much comes out of makeup tests, and you can always learn something by something not being what the director wants. And what I always find in that occasion, and I'm sure that you do exactly the same, is you can kind of go in whilst you've got the directors are so busy in prep. Whilst you've got their attention, there's nothing to stop you going in and kind of moving stuff around and just saying, how about this? How about this? How about this? You know, it's like, I mean, we usually have this sort of like ballpark thing with directors, you know, that they give them free options, have free options standing by or something, you know, and it's kind of, and even if you're doing weeks or so, I mean, quite often I've kind of sort of had other weeks sort of standing by and just kind of gone, okay, what about this one? Or what about this? Or what about shorter? Or, you know, so you've got the director is focusing on the look. So that's the time to kind of just delve in there and kind of, you know, play about.
Often I also do, I'm sort of thinking about stuff and I go, and I think I've had an idea and it's a bit out there, and I'll talk to the director a long time ahead of that, because often you need a long time ahead to get it made, or, you know, lots of things you think. And often they accept it and you think, oh my God, how did I get away with that? And sometimes they don't. And often they're right and sometimes they're not. So often they're right to stop you doing something, and it sends you in a better direction, particularly if it's a director that you have a very long trusting relationship like you do, Chrissy, with Mike Leigh. You know, I have with Sam Mendes or whatever. You know, various directors that you love to work with, and you have a language and you can do anything, and you know they'll, even if they hate it, they won't hate you, you know, or what you do.
Yeah, well, you hope they won't.
Yes, that's true.
It's like all of a sudden you're not doing the next one. Jesus.
Yeah.
Here's a question. How did you approach doing makeup on the same actor, Judi Dench in Bond and Philomena?
Well, it's all character driven. It's all about the character they're playing. So you think about that person, and Judi, you know, in Bond, had to look good. I felt like she should look good. She's a very professional, powerful woman. And you know, you think about women like that, and you think there's no reason they still shouldn't be looking beautiful and pay attention to their appearance. And often they use their appearance to create more of a powerful situation for themselves, or they use their makeup as a bit of armor because it's hard sometimes to go out there and do what they have to do. So, but you know, Judi, I just wanted her to look really good and very businesslike and really as good as I possibly could. She's very beautiful, Judi. We've done lots of stuff. And then Philomena was so interesting because I met Philomena, the person that she was portraying, and we all had a big dinner with the designers and director, and I got there really early and so did she. So I had half an hour on my own with her, and very empathetic with her situation. And also she was a very outgoing, great woman. And I talked to her about her beauty regime and what she did and what it meant to her, makeup. And she was a woman who was very well put together. She really looked great. She was stylish. She liked her makeup. She dyed her hair. She had her hair done every week. And I took those elements of her to Judi, and we developed that character. She was made up. She had her hair done. And Philomena had very dark hair, and I didn't want to put that on Judi because it's too hard to wear that when you've got always been known for having blonde or white hair. So things like that, adjusted it all. But when you're designing makeup for an actress, even if it's the same one, it's, you know, I've done a lot with Emma Thompson. She's looked very different in each one. And it's character driven completely.
Yeah. There's quite a few questions, Naomi, about how you build your team and what do you look for in the people, in the team.
Well, I look for someone who can make a really good cup of tea. That's the first thing. My team is very important to me. I work with the same people over and over. They become my sort of family because of all the time we spend together. I love them. And they all have different talents. You know, I've worked with Norma Webb. We were at college together when we were 17. And we've always worked together. Then I went to the States, and when I came back, the first thing I did was ring Norm to come back to work with me. And thank God, because Norm's the reason half the stuff I do looks okay. And then I have Rebecca Cole. I look for different things. So, and it's different things for each film. So you do a period film, so you want someone who's really good at period hair and wigs and whatever. But most people I work with are good all-rounders. And then if you have something special, you bring someone who's good at that particular thing. You know, because you can't do everything. I used to feel guilty that I couldn't do absolutely every single thing. But you can't, because you don't do it over and over again. So you need to bring in experts and help you out. But you need to be very clear about how you want things to look and be collaborative about your designs. But basically, my core team are always the same, pretty much, except for Rebecca Cole, who's right now, as we speak, having a baby. Right this very second.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah.
Congratulations, Rebecca.
I know.
What about trainees? I mean, you know, when you're choosing a trainee and stuff, is it the same principle? Like, oh, it's a period piece, I'm looking for this.
No. Probably very important there.
No, it's not the same, because they haven't had the experience for me to draw on them for their expertise. And trainees, you know, it's a very big thing. I have hundreds of letters, CVs sent in to me, and I read every single one, and I hopefully respond, I think, to pretty much every single one, because, you know, I think people send their CVs in and they're going out to avoid. And if you don't respond, it makes you feel a bit hopeless, don't you think? That, you know, what have I done this for? Why am I doing this? No one's responding. So even if I respond to say I don't need anyone right now, but things catch my eye about trainees. It's It's their commitment to their future, I think, that catches my eye. Sometimes you get letters from people who have done a very quick makeup course and think they're ready to come and work on a major big feature film as a makeup artist. And I don't like that. I think mixed with all your passion and your desire to achieve something good within this industry should be a humility as well of all the stuff that you don't know that you want to know. I want people who really want to learn, but also have a sense of humor and I don't know, but a real commitment to this industry is what I think is very important.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely having that humbleness, isn't it? And I've always sort of said that it's kind of, you know, anybody that does a course, you need to look at it in a 10-year plan. You know, nobody's going to go out and design straight away. You know, you need to go out and literally sort of like the longer you can be a trainee, if you're working with good people, then, you know, you're learning so much, you know, and I think it's that thing of not wanting to run before you can properly walk, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we still learn every time that we do a film, every time we do a job. So
I know. But I think, you know, getting as much knowledge as is possible. And I also think it's a problem now that you really do need to have a good, solid hair background.
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of people who've just done makeup and haven't done any hair, and that's a really big problem, and it's going to be more of a problem, I think. And I think the shortage in this industry in the future, the projections for the future, when I talk to producers who are worried about crewing up in 10 years' time, is that one of the big things is there aren't enough hairdressers, people doing hair, even though we're doing both. So I think it's vital that you go and get a job in a wig room in the theatre, because you're going to be your best wig training now. I really think there are various wig courses around, but if you can get into a theatre, and it's people that do that will go into the theatre or go and do a job that pays almost nothing just to get the experience, or continue doing courses or take advantage of the screen set skills courses that anything really, or
investing, isn't it?
Anything.
It's investing into your own career.
Yeah, and that's what attracts me, and that's what I look for in a trainee, that real enthusiasm and passion and commitment.
And it's a commitment thing, and it's a time thing. It's, you know, I don't think any of you designers and stuff are concerned about someone being of an age or anything. I mean, that's irrelevant. It's take your time, do all these things, and you've got a great chance of surviving, of getting in there, of doing it. You know, it's not. There's no secret formula. It's sort of tedious things like hard work and doing. One question. Do you, Naomi, what's your favourite brush, sponge or fingers?
I use all of them. I like them all. I use all of those things. I still use sponges. A lot of people don't, but I use different types of sponges for different things. But I also like, I suppose, I don't use fingers that much on the face as much as I do on the body. What does that sound like? Sorry, guys.
It doesn't like over that.
I use everything. Use all of that. Whatever you need to do.
It's whatever you need to get the effect, really, isn't it? I always think.
Yeah.
What's your favourite makeup palette, Naomi?
God, I can't imagine who's listening to this. They're all going to kill me if I say the wrong thing. I don't have one. I have well, we did a palette for 1917 actually. It's called Naomi Donne's. It's called Beaten by Naomi Donne. There's one, and there's called Dirty by Naomi Donne. I love those. David Stoneman made them. I like lots of different palettes. I like a good old grease paint palette. Yeah. That's how I was trained. Good old Kryolan grease paint palette. You cannot beat.
Yeah, I'm glad you said, because it's almost kind of, it's such an old-fashioned palette that, again, somehow I say younger students, maybe I'm not going to say that, just kind of almost turn their nose up at it because it's not sexy enough almost. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, it's pretty basic, yeah. But and also they're not exposed to it. I don't know if you teach with grease paint palettes. Do you guys use them?
It's actually one of the grease paint palette is one of the things I've always insisted goes in their startup kit, because I think it's such a pure basic.
I agree, yeah. And then you can do anything with
the
it.
basic Dermacolor palette. Like that and the grease paint palette, the double layered grease paint palette are my two go-tos that I expect to always see on set as well.
Yeah.
I know that we can just do anything out of them.
I know, and the texture's great, and it's comforting.
It is.
Yeah. And I suppose that is still my favourite palette, but I do like the Le Maquillage palettes. Is it Le Maquillage or Il Maquillage? You know, the square things.
Yeah.
Loads of them in, yeah.
I love
You
those.
like those, Pete, don't you? They're satisfying to the eyes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great.
They're pleasing.
Never used it, but yeah, I've got it on my desk because it just looks beautiful. The colours and stuff. It's just
they're great.
About it. Which I think it works as well. Research. How do you research, Naomi? And do you have any particular sort of favourite research books?
Yeah, I've got all those books. My research books.
We were getting quite envious of those earlier on.
Are you?
Oh my God, I just want to go and have a look through your bookshelves.
Because they're books I've had since the beginning. Huh?
I thought you were talking about my books.
No. God, I can't even begin to imagine what they are. What did you say? Or where do I research? I research. It depends on the project, but basically, I mean, you can get everything online now. That's the thing. Although, having said that, I have tons of books, and that I go back to the similar ones again and again. Even if it's a period film or not a period film, there are certain photographers or books of photography that I love because they're showing people, and sometimes you just get a sense of, you get an idea, even if it's not particularly relevant. So I go through all my books up there. I think I could probably do almost anything out of those. But, you know, I went to the Imperial War Museum for 1917. There's so much research, documentaries, and also online stuff. And then I call up Dune, who works with me, Dune Forsyth, and they go, ooh, find me a load of this stuff. And then we both go in and we both start ploughing through and we sort of brainstorm. And I get my trainees to start doing research because it's good for them to start looking up stuff and learning where to look and how to look. And I spend hours online just going into not those places. But
the dark web.
I don't even know how to do that. But all different places. I go to art galleries, I go to museums, I go to look at stuff all over the place.
Go to your library at all? Your local library?
No, I never go to the library. I used to when I was young and starting up. I did.
Yeah.
Are there any local libraries left? There are hardly any left, are there?
Yeah, we've got one locally.
We've got Swiss Cottage.
I started again. Yeah, it's worth popping into. It's sort of rediscovering your libraries quite.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. How stupid not to even think that, really.
No, but we've fallen out of sort of favour with libraries, but they are, you know, and when you start going in there, you kind of like, you get 6-7 books for a month for free, and you just walk away going, obviously with my kids, and they're just going, Dad, what's the problem? Like, yeah, but look, it's free. I can read this. It's a wonderful thing. We're running out a bit of time, but so here's one. What would be your dream job and or director that you haven't worked on yet? What would you love? Who would you love to work with, and what would it be, period-wise or something?
I don't know because, I mean, I suppose you always think, I've never worked with Scorsese, and Scorsese is probably one of the greatest directors of all time. Things like that, but I like not knowing what's happening next. I love it when someone rings and goes, someone's made a call about you, are you interested in this? And it's something that you wouldn't have thought of, something from left field. So I don't have a favourite period. I love to create characters. That's my big favourite thing, is sitting down with an actor and creating a character and going through their past, going through their background, their upbringing, anything that might affect, sorry, just letting the dog out, that might affect their appearance. Or that's my favourite thing to do, is whatever era you're in, it's all to me about creating a character. And then somehow reproducing or making right their lifestyle, or creating their lifestyle on their faces. That's what I like to do.
Well, that's a beautiful way and a beautiful place to end our little coffee morning chat. Naomi, thank you so much. We look
really
forward to
start.
When you've got time, Naomi, coming in to teach. I know you'd love the idea of coming to teach at the academy.
I liked it when I came in that day.
Well, that was afternoon tea.
It was good. do another afternoon tea.
Yeah, let's do that.
I promised to come in as well, so that's good.
Afternoon tea. I hope everybody. I loved it anyway. It was a lovely chat. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you all so much. Next week we've got Denise Come, who is the makeup designer for the new Mulan. It hasn't come out yet. Mulan has obviously not.
No. It's been they delayed its release, haven't they? Like they have done with a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Lovely. All right. Well, Naomi, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Naomi.
Bye.
Lovely to talk to you.
Bye. Love to see you.
Bye.